Hi, welcome to Nature Center Notes. My name is Greg, and today we're going to be talking about a sweet subject, maple syrup. So let's start off. We'll head off into the woods and find a maple tree. So like maple trees have those helicopter seeds, and so they blow off the treetop and float through the air, and if they land in a good spot and don't get eaten by a deer as a seedling, they can grow to be a big tree. Too small. If you tap a small tree, the size of the tap is the same no matter what. You take away too much of that, the food, the sap. So it's got to be bigger than this. When we drill at an angle. Why do you think we do that?
So it can flow downwards, not just straight.
Yeah, it helps the sap come out. Yeah, gives it a little hand. And then we're going to go in as far as our piece of tape. Okay, I'm going to have each of you take 5 turns on the drill. So I don't see any sap coming out. It's not quite warm enough yet. I haven't shown you this yet, have I? Okay. Sometimes they're plastic. They used to be made out of wood. Some people just use like a hollow twig a long time ago. If you pound it too hard, you crack the tree and the sap drips to the ground. If you don't pound it hard enough, when your sap bucket fills up with sap, the weight pulls it out. So just enough. To us, it's hardly sweet at all because we eat candy and we drink juice, and I mean even the amount of fruit we eat is probably more than like what Native Americans ate. But to them, for this being the only source of sugar, it was probably like incredibly sweet. What do you think the lid's for?
Rain.
Yeah, because when you're cooking the sap, what's the one thing that you're removing to make syrup? Water. If you add water by rain or snow, you're making your job a lot harder.
Alright guys, let's go. That's some sweet time.
Hey, it's frozen!
It's a sapsicle.
Thank you.
And then
Hey, got out.
let's dump it in our bucket here. All right. So if there's ice in it or a little bit of liquid, bring it over.
Nice.
Let's have the green bucket stay here.
I think that is. Yeah.
Before you can cook, you know what you need? Wood. And sap too, but you need wood. And you see our pile of wood here. That's maybe enough wood to make a few gallons of syrup. Not all that much. That's a pretty small pile of wood. We do a lot of things with 3rd grade power. Yeah, where's the crews? You all lifted that bucket of sap, so you know collecting's a lot of work. Walking down into the woods, I mean that just takes a certain amount of time, tapping the trees. Cutting the wood and cooking is also a really long process, which is why maple syrup is so expensive. So we made at least a small fire. This silver thing is a pan. What do you think goes in here?
The sap.
The sap. Yeah, the sap goes in here. And then the fire, of course, heats up the sap. And if this pan was full and we cooked it down to syrup, we would only end up with about a gallon of syrup. You can't make maple syrup anywhere, and you can't make maple syrup just any time of the year. You can make it now, and you can make it only in a certain part of the world. You need 2 things to be able to make maple syrup. You need a tree. So pine tree will work.
No.
Birch tree, maple trees, sugar maples. You need sugar maples. Okay, so that's one thing that you need. You need to have a spring that starts off with nights that get below freezing, but then warms up to above freezing that day. That freeze-thaw cycle makes it so the sap flows with enough pressure in the tree so that when you tap the tree, the sap comes out. People have been using the sap from maple trees for thousands of years. Okay, what cultures do you think were the first to use sap from maple trees? Christian? Native Americans. Yeah, different Native American tribes that lived in that area for a long time. For most of the history of people using maple sap, it was made into sugar, not syrup. Syrup's a pretty new invention. We put hours and hours into this, and we've had our big cooker going, and when we got down to just a little bit left, we bring it inside to a smaller cooker. We've got kind of a fancy cooker over there. You know, we've seen some big changes. When the sap comes out of the tree, it doesn't look like syrup. You know what it looks like? Water. Looks like water. It's not very sweet. It's not very thick. It's not very sticky. As you cook it, the color slowly changes. It gets thicker. It gets sweeter. How do you think you know when you're done? We use two other tools. One is this. What is this tool? Thermometer. Yeah, thermometer, temperature. When it reaches 219 degrees, so 7 degrees above boiling, you have exactly the amount of sugar for it to be syrup. One other way to measure when you're done, because you only can make the maple syrup for 1 month in the year. So you want to do it right. You're not going to have a second chance. And then you have to store it for a long time. If you do it wrong, it's either going to crystallize or it's going to go moldy. So we've got a second tool. You're right. It's a hydrometer. It's measuring how much water. It's measuring density. It's approximately a 40-to-1 ratio. You need to carry 10 of these to make a gallon of syrup. Okay, maple syruping is a lot of work, so here's what you guys can do. Before you get your cup with pancake, you can carefully lift this up just to get an idea of how much 4 gallons of sap would weigh. And then why don't you wait to eat your pancake until everybody has a pancake. And then have a seat. Once you have your pancake, have a seat. It is heavy, isn't it? Imagine if you had to carry 10 of those. Let's dump it in our bucket here. This silver thing is a pan. What do you think goes in here?
Sap.
The sap. Yeah, the sap goes in here.
We eat it?